CPD. Talking about that because on the Sports Therapy Association podcast this month, we have every Tuesday been talking to a selection of CPD providers, including Dan actually, who's listening to us now, with the idea of just promoting some of the stuff out there which maybe you're not considering as soft tissue therapists. We haven't gone out of our way to find weird and wacky stuff that you haven't heard of, but I've gone out of my way to find stuff which I think may be useful to a number of you. And we pointed out back from episode 1, I put my legs up here, it's nice, bit of elevation. I pointed out in the first episode that it's not a courses that everyone has to do whatsoever. And we chatted about that, how which CPD you choose will depend a lot on what sort of clinic you're working in. Are you by yourself? Are you in a group? Have you got access to kind of peer chats and monitoring and mentorship within your own clinic? What you've already done, what you're hoping to do, who your target audience are, where you hope to see yourself in 5 years. Do you run your own business? Do you work for somebody else? Are you in a position where you want to kind of help your team evolve as therapists? Or, you know, there's so many factors which you need to take in consideration before choosing a course. So anyway, this month in Sports Association podcast and Videocast, we started off talking to Daniel, actually, who's listening, Daniel Williams and Mike Grice of Movement Therapy Education, who are now the official providers of something called dermo neuromodulation, understandably shortened to DNM, which is a system created by Diane Jacobs from Canada a long time ago. Diane Jacobs was studying with, if you've heard of people like David Butler and Lorimer Moseley, back to that kind of era of revelations and evolution of thought. She was back there with them, and her system, she's retired now, but her system has now come to the UK, and it's marvellous. It's come around because, as we described back in episode probably 89, 90 or something, at the beginning of the month, it's being the incredible mind that she is. She was putting together a system which worked with the principles that now are kind of starting to do the rounds 20 years later, as in, when you lay your hands on someone in any way at all, the main thing you're affecting is their nervous system, in particular the subcutaneous nerves, because you're touching the skin. So before you even think about getting through to muscles or fascia or anything like that, it's the skin on top which is going to take the main effect of your touch, however you are touching someone. So yeah, it's actually, as we discussed then, a system that encapsulates all of the whole of biopsychosocial thing, and puts it into a system where you can actually apply that. And it's very, very considerate of the fact that it's not just how you're touching someone that's making a difference. It is everything you're saying to them, and everything you're helping them come to their own conclusions, and it's the whole package. Okay, it's everything really that soft tissue therapy should be with the knowledge we've got, which is pretty big words. If a system can do that, working with the individual in front of you, I think the nicest thing I've heard, if you're from a martial arts background like myself, and a few other people I've heard say this, and it's kind of the Jeet Kune Do of manual therapy, as in Bruce Lee's kind of system of martial arts, where it's a mixture of techniques which you apply according to the person in front of you, which is why old Brucey was such a devil in his time. So yeah, anyway, so that was the DNM session. We then went on to talk to who was next after Grice and Dan? We had Pete Maliaris, tendon guru extraordinaire, again being around for such a long time, evolved with the times, and put together some fantastic courses now in its 5th or 6th edition, coming to the UK again, happening towards the end of March, happening now and onwards, in various locations. Up to date tendinopathy rehab. Pete is one of the best. And we talked again about the evolving, how we realise now that the research isn't as good as we thought it was. The conclusions we've made were a little bit rushed 10, 15 years ago. So now it's all about accepting that and realising that because it's not black and white, we got to relish in the grey. Isn't that brilliant? And we're not afraid to tell our clients that we're living in the grey and say, we're trying this out, we'll try that out. We see how you respond, because we don't know how you're going to respond, because you're a human being, not a car. You know, you take I think it was Todd Hargrove who once wrote so wisely, you take a wheel off a car and it's not going to get very far. But if a dog loses a leg, it'll find a way and eventually be running around happier than Larry, whoever Larry is. So that's the difference between this kind of mechanical idea and a living system. It's complex as opposed to complicated, and can get by if you give it the right input. So amazing. Peter Malliaras, who's, like I say, is coming to London, Surrey, various places. All of the details of these guests are on the show notes. Catch it on YouTube. You can go and look at it there on the Sports Therapy Association podcast channel, or you can find it at thesta.co.uk. All the links are there. And then last Tuesday, we had the amazing Greg Lehman, who, again, I know for a lot of you know who Greg is, and I've done you no favour bringing him onto camera, because you know him, you know his stuff, and you're probably doing a lot of what he says all the time. But as I mentioned a lot of times to my guests in particular before the show, I'm really putting out this stuff for the 2,000 or so people who download it afterwards. The people who don't know who Greg Lehman is, Pete Malliaras is, who have never heard of Mike Grice and movement therapy education and stuff. You know, these are the people I want to reach, because otherwise it's just an echo chamber, isn't it? So yeah, Gregory Lehman, if you're not familiar with Greg Lehman's work, it was an amazing chat once again, talking about his reconciling biomechanics with pain science. One of the forefathers, again, Greg is, because been around doing this since '95, talking about biopsychosocial before it was mainstream whatsoever, before it was a word that was even mentioned, and showing that it's not one or the other. You know, in fact, trying to divide them up is silly. The human system plus the ecosystem that the human system lives in is all part of what you're working with when someone is having a pain experience or something. So it was a really good session with Greg, talking about his course, which is in Cork, Ireland. And if you can get over to Ireland or fancy a trip, then I would look at that. I think it's April, the early April something, Saturday and Sunday, 5th and 6th maybe, or 2nd and 3rd. Again, details all on the website, thesta.co.uk. And then Tuesday coming up, so as we start a lovely new week in a sunny UK, which I'm absolutely relishing in, we're talking this Tuesday to Angela Jackson of angelajacksonphysio.com, who is a leading provider of education for working with young athletes, and it's called Young Athletes Are Not Mini Adults. I think that's what we called it in the end, which is a kind of a buzz phrase going around now, applied to a few different sections. I'm running out of battery here, so yeah, we're going to be talking about basically courses that Angela's put together for any therapists who want to improve their knowledge of working with young athletes, and that'll be this Tuesday. To track myself to a nail, thanks nasty. Right, so look, my battery's running anyway, so and then the final Tuesday of the month we'll be talking to Jack March, who's going to be talking about his CPD courses to improve our knowledge of rheumatology and the masqueraders of symptoms who probably come to us first and we don't even know it, and as a result the patient in front of us gets treated by people and they don't even realise that they're suffering from a disorder which could remain undiagnosed for maybe up to 10 years because we don't ask the right questions. So that's the Tuesday after. Then it's the sleep month. Right, I've got no battery now, so I'm going to have to sign off, otherwise this is all wasted for nothing. Hope you're all well, yeah, I will see you on Tuesday if you can, or if not, just download the podcast and remember to leave a nice review and rating for us. From sunny UK, from South Coast Lancing, see you later, and don't forget to check out all my stuff on runchatlive.com. Thanks a lot, see you soon.